Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, August 8th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple of clarification points. First off, this number you see over here will still be changing, moving around, and the candlestick you see will be moving around. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. But the market is also close enough to being done for the day where everything I talk about will still be relevant as we head into Monday. And then next, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, ticker symbol AMC. What a crazy move today, given it had earnings, but I mean, talk about an absolute just JK, just kidding, thrown at the bears with a big gap down, so looking like a bearish day, and then the bulls just ripped basically the entire day long. So any shorts that got undisciplined, that didn't want to honor their stop losses, they got absolutely destroyed. They're not going to have a good weekend. That's probably the best way to put it. But overall, and really in all actuality, other than just noting that very crazy part of the day, it's back to the broken record mode, as I said in yesterday's video, where the trend continues, higher highs and higher lows. Now, even with this low right there, yeah, technically speaking, that did violate some of these previous lows, but what more than compensated for that was the fact that not only did it go up to that previous high, but it just raged up through it. So yes, technically speaking, you could kind of nitpick and say, well, no, Clay, technically it wasn't necessarily a higher high, or excuse me, a higher low. Now it was if I want to sit here and, play the game of, well, relative to here, it was a higher low, which is true. But again, at the core, given the nature of the strength of today and how high it actually went beyond this high right here, I mean, not only does the trend continue, but it seemingly is looking just that much more powerful moving forward. So as far as areas to watch, new level of support that in my mind makes this the strongest moving forward now is staying up above that $20 mark. Granted, if the price falls below 20, that doesn't mean the entire chart's destroyed, but that would certainly make the chart look the healthiest. And then as far as levels of resistance are concerned, near term level right up there at $22.50. But overall, the uptrend continues after a very, very crazy day. Next one, ILAG, and I really like this one for the big self-fulfilling prophecy type component to it, which sits there basically at a break of $3.80. So what do I mean by self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, me drawing that red line in here, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to imply that that was a special talent or a secret discovery on my part. The exact opposite. I assure you, people around the world have drawn that trend line. And I say that because when a lot of people are watching the same level, wondering the same thing, like I said, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want. It can produce some very dynamic movement. So while there is no such thing as a guarantee in the market, is it plausible to think that if the price comes up here and breaks up through that trend line with good solid volume, that break could create a whole lot of additional buying pressure just because a lot of people are watching that breakout level? That's absolutely a plausible thought process to have. So if you like to play breakouts, if you like to play those potentially self-fulfilling prophecy type dynamics, then right there around that 380 mark is going to be a key level. As far as supports are concerned, keep an eye down there at that $3 mark. And then if you want to turn this into more so a pattern, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the nice momentum move right there. So you could call this a good old-fashioned bull flag pattern. Next, GOVX, and like this one, because yes, yesterday it did come to life very nicely, and today it pulled back a bit, but didn't crash, didn't do anything crazy, and in pulling back today has just created that much more of a, in my mind, a good solid pattern. And I put this one very strategically because hopefully this looks and sounds familiar. So there is this downwards channel that's forming, but it is forming after a big explosive move there, which has now led to a bull flag pattern. So if you like the bull flags, if you like to play the price ranges of down below $10, then both ILAG and then here we have GOVX is giving you an opportunity to potentially play some bull flag breakouts moving forward. And once again, that goes along the lines of self-fulfilling prophecies and patterns that a whole lot of people are going to be watching. So like I said, if you like the bull flag patterns, here's a couple for you. Next, BBBY, very, very impressive move. Now, granted, let me squeeze things down to give a little bit of context. This thing has already been in a good, solid uptrend ever since it basically bottomed out here back in late July. So since then, it's not like today was a good move out of nowhere. It had already been making nice moves, but today was, a lot more noisy in the sense of, I'm sure, setting off volume scanners and so on as you look at that opening part of the day. The first 2 30-minute sessions. In fact, kind of bizarre that usually the first 30 minutes is where you have the most volume, but you can see right there, it was actually the second 30 minutes where you had the most volume. But regardless, good overall movement. And what's now very interesting headed into next week is that as I speak, and this is why I like to do these when the market's still open, the price is basically right here at that red line of $8.20, trying to get the breakout there. And that's what a watch list is to find unique, to find interesting situations, and not just randomly rush out and buy them, but to watch them. And in this situation, the unique situation, the question mark revolves around, okay, it's knocking at the door, can it break out? And if it can break out, no guarantees, as I've said, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that a breakout could lead to, even more upside momentum? Absolutely, especially when you consider in the factor that the overall context is still bullish in this regard. So, no, it technically speaking has not broken out yet, but like I said, is it currently doing battle? Absolutely, so it's worth at least watching and seeing if the breakout does come along next week. Next one here, PLTR, and not quite as dramatic as the AMC, but same general idea of AMC is you do have a nice overall trend, like AMC had, and then you had this gap down this morning, which was making things look not so good, but then you definitely had the price make a good solid move in the upwards direction. Again, not nearly as powerful as AMC, but generally speaking, relatively similar. But overall, that is where I want to first start off is, yeah, this thing was very crazy today, but all the craziness is occurring in a very clear upwards channel. I mean, you could throw this right into a textbook if you wanted to in terms of upwards channel. So yeah, despite the craziness today, at the end of the day, when you boil things down, which turns out to be kind of anticlimactic, yeah, nothing really happened relative to the upwards channel. Now, quote unquote, something happening of significance would be either the price just gets demolished through the downside, or the price just explodes up to the upside through that pattern. But the point here being is that, yeah, it was pretty dramatic today, but relative to the upwards channel, it's still right in the middle of it, as you just saw right there. Now, as far as key breakout areas, the level here that I'm very curious about, and once again, why I like to do these when the market's still open, you can, in fact, let me zoom in here a little bit more. You can see that the price is currently doing battle right at that trend line, which brings about the same general talking point. Okay, this is an interesting situation, so it's worth throwing out the question, is this breakout, is there a new breakout around the corner next week? Will that breakout lead to more momentum? Certainly a question worth considering and keeping an eye on, because if it is the start of something much bigger, well then, hey, you're going to have a good opportunity. Wanted to take a quick break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online trading that I'm offering next week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, why it's powerful, why it's very, very helpful and efficient in building consistency as a trader, then certainly get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. You can click to get signed up. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage. You can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more, then certainly get signed up for the free training. Next, AMD, and we officially have a very, very well-defined trend line here. So one of these things where there wasn't really ever any really clean trend lines because this thing was just kind of grinding up so quickly. But now after today, in my mind, very, very nice trend line. So I'm not going to repeat myself over and over again. But the whole idea that I talked about previously of self-fulfilling prophecies certainly exists in relative to that trend line right there, which puts, the breakout point right around the $103 mark. So keep an eye on that. As far as pullbacks are concerned, interesting potential pullback area right here at the 101 mark. And you can see that the price came down there, and that's actually right where it bounced off of today. And then from a bigger picture point of view, let me change colors real quick. From a pattern standpoint, resistance, support, momentum move right here. Let's put the golf hole down here. And this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So not quite a bull flag, but bull pennant. A couple differences, but overall, it's good bullish environment within a general context of a bullish trend. So if you like to play these patterns, if you like to play maybe options, since this is a higher price stock, then definitely keep an eye on AMD. Next one, TSLA, Tesla. Brutal day today. No need to beat around the bush. And like a lot of these other stocks that I was talking about, there was no fake gap down. It gapped down. Think AMC and these other ones where after it gapped down, it just came ripping back to the upside. None of that. It just continued to bleed and bleed the rest of the day. So yeah, a very rough day here for Tesla, and one where now you have some of these older areas of support now potentially coming into play. The next key level being right down there at the 850 mark. So 850 going to be a level as somebody that watches Tesla on a very routine basis that I'll be watching and curious as the first level of support. If 850 doesn't hold, or if there's a big gap down, then the next key level of support I'll be very curious about is that pink line there, which on my chart denotes a 200 period moving average, currently valued at 829.50. So that'll be another key level. Now, in the event there are some sort of bounces back to the upside, first key area of resistance that I'm very curious about. If it does try to bounce right up there at the 880 mark, then that would be followed by the purple line up there, the 50 period valued at 908. But as of now, 908, that kind of seems irrelevant. But there is already the track record of that purple line acting as resistance, as you can see right there. But I do also concede the fact that I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself talking about the 50 period when the price hasn't even gotten up through the 880 mark. But nonetheless, those would be the main levels that I'm watching early next week. Next, MRKR, and I like this one quite a bit because going back to the whole talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies, a very well-defined self-fulfilling prophecy point right there at the 56 cent mark. You can see here once, twice, 3 times the price got rejected. So as I've said, no guarantees, but is it plausible to think that the price can get up there and push up through there, that could signal the end of this pullback consolidation and that another round of momentum is coming? To me, that is a more than rational thought process to have in regards to that area right there. And as this one showed, it can move and move very quickly. Sure, it pulled back, but the good news is the pullback has leveled off and now it's starting to return back upwards, which circling back to our original point, can the price actually break up through that level? Let's see what happens. But if you like to play penny stocks, then I'd certainly keep an eye on this one for sure. Next one here, CVNA, an absolutely monster move and a very beautiful pattern, well defined. So again, to honor your time, I'm not going to sit here and repeat myself over and over again with this concept of self-fulfilling prophecies, but you better believe a lot of people have drawn this pattern in play. Let me actually change that to green to represent more so the bullish part of the pattern. But you're going to have all sorts of people watching this pattern. Make it easier to see. Let's keep it one color now. We have our resistance. We have our support. We have the big momentum move right here. For you golfers out there, we have our golf hole down here. And this would be another bull pennant pattern. And a bull pennant on one that has shown that it can move and move very quickly. I know there's a high short interest out there on it. So there's always that. And I'm sure there was, to an extent, a short squeeze today. But you never quite know how explosive these things can get when you factor in how much short interest is out there on it. But overall, if you like to play bull pennant patterns in environments that you know that a lot of shorts are in there, then I definitely keep a close eye on this one. Next, FUBO, and nice pattern here. So let's get this in play. We have a very well-defined area of support where the price a couple times came down here to that 340 mark and held strong. So if you like to play pullbacks, then that could be an area to be considered. And then again, like I said, that is the top part of our pattern. As far as the key breakout point, really you could do 2 things. You could draw that if you wanted to, have a bull pennant for yourself, or you could do that and have a bull flag for yourself, which goes to show, charting is not an exact science, but you just want to stay within the general ballpark of what you're watching. So it really just goes to, what do you feel most comfortable with? Do you feel more comfortable with buying that sort of resistance right there if it breaks? Or do you feel comfortable saying, well, I'd like a little bit more confirmation of strength, and let's see if it can get up to that level and then break through it. So it's completely up to you. It's completely, personal preference in that regard. But at the core, none of these areas are random. Nobody could accuse you of saying, well, why would you buy, why would you buy right there? Well, you could say, well, because there's a trend line right there. It's a trend line break. Somebody could say, well, why would you buy right there? And you could say, well, no, that's not random. That's a previous high break from right there. So like I said, wherever you decide, that's up to you. But our job as traders is to do not random things, and because that would be known as gambling. But if you have rationale behind what you're doing and both those levels are rationale, then it's worth at least considering. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about this tool and how it can and should be used and why it's powerful in building consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free live training. Like I said, it'll be next week, Thursday, August 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, if you'd like for me to continue to make these videos, then help me out with some basic feedback. Hit that like button, leave a simple comment, even if it's just saying hi. Tell me what you traded today. Tell me what you're watching next week. But those 2 things help out a whole lot, and I thank you in advance for it. So again, get signed up for that free training. Hopefully I'll see you there next week. Hit that like button, leave a simple comment down below. Thanks for watching. Take care, and have a great weekend.